Yes. The answer to the question, it's yes. What is up, party people? So we got the first video in a new series of videos I am going to be making, and I'm very, very excited, and hopefully you are as well. And it is going to be on Miss Pandaria, baby. We got Miss Pandaria on the horizon. So what not better to do than to overview every healer, and if I'm cool enough, I'm going to try to do every spec, because I didn't play healer back then. I played DPS. So this could be the first video in all these videos. So please let me know before we even watch the video. Sub to the channel. Let me know down below what classes you and specs specifically you want to see. I'm going to try to make some short condensed videos. What up, Ed Bald? Condensed videos on just the changes going over into Miss Pandaria from Cataclysm, big things, and just kind of a general sense of how the class works. This is not a full-on guide. This is probably more so as a good tool to pick how to pick a class or a spec to go into Miss Pandaria with. So Resto Druid is going to be my first pick because of course it's my main, and of course it is arguably the best spec in the game. So we are going to go over the things that excite me about Resto Druid in Pandaria, go over some of the new abilities, how the gameplay works, and then I'm going to use as a reference, I'm going to use some of the private server data that we have available to us to go over the viability in it. How strong is this spec? All right. So first off, if you have played Cataclysm, the core of Cataclysm's Resto Druid is very similar. So in general, and I'm going to use the in-game feature as a tool because heck yeah, it's great. So big things that have changed. Many old talents have become a specialization spell. This is something that's gone across every spec in the game, where they took those nice, lovely talent trees in Cataclysm and just baked a lot of them into the class already, so that you didn't have to make those choices. Bears, there's now Guardian spec. Old abilities such as Insect Swarm Pulverize no longer exist. So that you did get some abilities pruned, but you know, I think it's for the best. There was a lot of abilities at Cataclysm. Rage generation has been changed. We don't really care about that. Core ability, so Rejuve, just the same as it always is. It's just a hot. It is a rather strong hot. If you are used to retail Resto Druid, Rejuve actually heals in this, so you don't need, this is a big wake-up call if you've never played these classic expansions and you only played retail. Resto Druid in here, these hots are powerful, man. You really don't need to be having 7 hots on a target at all times. It's a lovely feeling. So Rejuvenation, obviously your big hot, you know, bread and butter of your rotation. Regrowth, a fast, expensive heal. Nourish is a cheap heal that it is buffed if you have a hot on you already. I'm not going to make this video about PvP specifically, but I'm going to throw little tidbits in there because that's just what I know and that's just what I do. All right. So Nourish is not typically used to PvP, but it is a cool, cheap spell to use. It is a much less mana, 17k mana for a Regrowth, 6k mana for a Nourish, and then Healing Touch is a similar mana cost to a Regrowth, but is a large heal that is a slower cast. Okay. Also, Regrowth has that crit effect. So again, a lot of those little talents and different specialty stuff that's in the other expansions, it's just baked into it. This is why MoP class design was so phenomenal in my perspective, is they baked all this stuff into the game already, so we don't have to be wasting all these talent points and wasting all this stuff trying to pull it all together. It's just there, right? And we can worry about the fun stuff, right? Life Bloom is your main triple hot, so this is a cheaper kind of a maintenance hot. There is still 3 stacks, but one nice thing about it is if you do have 3 stacks and you swap it over to him, it maintains those 3 stacks. So that's something that wasn't in the game in the previous classic expansions. So very nice to have. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this music down just a little bit. And you can swap these hots around. It is virtually identical to Classic's version. Very, very nice heal. Really good uptime. You have this hot as long with a Rejuve, you are juicy, especially if you have it on 2 targets and using that Swift Mend. Swift Mend used frequently on the target to heal quickly. So Swift Mend is our, you know, consumption ability, or our main heal, I should say. Big chunky heal, so you have to have a hot on your target and you use it. One thing that I have a glyph on right now, but it does, just like in Cataclysm, it does create that efflorescence ability unless you spec into Glyph of Efflorescence, which ends up being almost mandatory anyway because it gives a 20% buff to Swiftmend. So virtually it's an auto lock-in anyway, but just so you know, baseline, it does actually cause that efflorescence just like it does in Cataclysm. So that is the core of the healing, and there's also one more change I gotta talk about, is the mastery. So mastery is the same as in Cataclysm. If you're not familiar though, much better than the retail version from, in my opinion, it is your direct healing increases. Direct healing is increased by 21%, or whatever percent your mastery is, and casting direct heals grants you additional bonus periodic healing for 20 seconds. Basically, what that means is it incentivizes you to press cast abilities or use Swift Mend on cooldown. If you're Swift Mending on cooldown, you don't really got to worry about this. It's just a passive buff, which is kind of nice. But if you do get caught into the moment where you're not casting heals or you're not Swift Mending, your heals will fall off. So it does create some sort of interactive gameplay, but not something that's overbearing. Like retail is, where you have to just more huts, more huts, more huts. It's just honestly, I hate retail mastery. Just saying. If you didn't get that from. But that is the biggest changes in terms of the healing. The other one change I do want to mention in there, which will lead us into our talents, is Cenarian Ward. Cenarian Ward, this is the introduction of Sen Ward. It is a massive heal. This is unlike retail, so many differences that I think Blizzard did a phenomenal job in these older expansions that just faded away. In retail, Cenarian Ward is just a minor hot that just ends up being a mastery contribution. But this is actually a fat heal. So just for reference, if Rejuve is ticking for 19k, this ticks for 50k every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. So it is like you get the idea. It's very chunky. It's very chunky. So Sen Ward is another addition. So when it comes to the healing gameplay, that's about it. Okay, so simple yet effective. So you keep up Rejuve, you keep up your life limbs on your main target. You can keep up to 3 stacks, and then you Swift Mend on cooldown. And Swift Mend on cooldown, I'll get to Solar Forest after, but that is the gist of it. When you need more healing, you can cast Regrowth, and Regrowth, it does, I believe, still extend your life limb, just like it does in Cataclysm, with a talent. So again, you don't have to talent in these things. And then you can also, use Nourish for a cheaper heal, typically more so used in PvE, and you can also use some of these glyphs to make you Nourish more effective. And then Healing Touch, not really used too often. If anything, maybe an NS with it, Nature Swiftness. But that's about it on the healing buttons. Oh wait, no, hold on. I almost forgot something, because this is the reason why I love it so much. There's so much awesome stuff in Resto Druid in this. So another cool thing is, if you are, again, I'm going to keep referencing to retail because I assume most of you are at least familiar with retail. Genesis, man. So this is a Invigorate from retail, but a better version of it. It doesn't have a cooldown, and it does 400% of Rejuve. Okay, so maybe it's better or worse, depending on how you think about it. It's not all of your hots. It's just Rejuve. But that is okay, because Rejuve is your strongest hot. Outside of, maybe like a Life Bloom, but Rejuve is a very strong hot now. So this being able to, and it also works on all of them. So, in a raid, for example, or a dungeon, you could have Rejuve on everybody, and you're taking massive AoE damage, some damp, or in threes, you came into a rot comp, everybody's got Rejuve, you can Genesis, all those Rejuves are going to be accelerated and heal way a lot. I'm going to say that, way a lot, and very, very chunky heals for a low mana cost. So just another cool little thing to add in to counter, the hots, right? You have some such super strong hots, and if you don't want to cast, you're under pressure, you need something quick, Genesis is a great option for that. Ironbark. Oh, my goodness. 20% damage reduction. This is first introduced in MoP with a 30-second cooldown. Honestly, broken. Should have been nerfed, but it wasn't, and it just is what it is. 20% damage reduction to all sources during this, 12 seconds, and 30-second cooldown. That is a rather high uptime, if you ask me. Anything else I'm missing in terms of the healing? Oh, mushrooms. Okay, so mushrooms are no longer damage like they were in Cataclysm. They are also heals. So mild mushrooms you cannot freely place, unfortunately. They do replace. Is that my glyph doing that? Okay, no, okay. So it's cast at a target. So I cast the mushroom at a target. You can cast it at a target over here, whatever you want. I have the talent, again, I have the glyph that makes my efflorescence go to the mushroom. Pretty much a mandatory lock-in, but you can do this, and then now you also have a bloom effect. So the bloom, instead of doing damage like it does in Cataclysm, it's a blooming heal, which is actually a very chunky heal. Something cool also, that with the utilization of this, you combine it with some of the spells such as like Wild Charge that came into the game, and this is a huge addition, because now that if you have a mushroom somewhere, unfortunately you can't free place it. If you could free place it, it'd be pretty busted, but you can create a macro, for example, and just auto leap to it. Pretty cool. You can put a shroom up top on yourself and then drop down off of a ledge. Poop, you're right back up. Really cool stuff you can do. That is the last heal. Dude, there's so much stuff here. I think I covered it all in terms of the healing. Nature Swiftness, You still have Nature's Grasp, which is insane to still have with all this. Nature's Swiftness is a 1 minute cooldown. Let me add that in. 1 minute cooldown for use of Cyclone, Roots, Healing Touch, Hibernate, Nourish, Regrowth, and all that stuff. And it's usable in all forms, and the healing and duration of the spells increase. So you can do big NS Regrow or Healing Touches with this, or you could just Cyclone with it, man. Even if you are going into that PvP. This is insanely broken that the Cyclone was still included in this. Definitely should have been. Might of Ursoc is in the game. I'll add that in there. This is like a Battle Master's trinket if you're familiar with that in PvP. But it's just like a oh shit button, and it puts you in bear form and increases your health by 30%. So kind of like a pseudo emergency heal if you're getting attacked for self-survivability. I think that's it. Now, nope. How did I forget about Symbiosis? Symbiosis! I am so excited making this video. Sorry for maybe if this is loud, but I am just so into this. So Symbiosis pulled up the charts. So Symbiosis, if you've never experienced this, I feel bad for you, but you will get a chance to do it again. One of the coolest all-time, probably my favorite ability ever added across any spec in the game. So you link yourself with an ally. Depending on what you link with, you both get a new ability. The ally gets an ability of a druid ability, and you get an ability of theirs. So as a Resto Druid, I mean, this is the whole chart if you want to see some of the other classes, but I'm going to focus on Resto Druid because this is about Resto. But you can get Icebound Fortitude from a DK. You can get Deterrence from a Hunter, Ice Block from a Mage, Fortifying Brew, Cleanse, so you can have double Dispel if you like, Leap of Faith from a Priest, Evasion for an extra dodge chance, Move While Casting from a Shaman, Teleport, so you can use, I believe, do you use their ports? Removes their and teleports you to the own by the wall. Okay, so you go to their port, which is even better than having to put your own port down. Or you could actually get a Fear in bear form, right? So you can actually get a Fear if you use it on a warrior. So absolutely game-breaking spells, so broken. You know, if you're talking about, there's some other stuff in here. If you want, just some highlights, you can get Hodge as a Boomy, Unrending Resolve. You can get Divine Shield as a Feral. You can get Priest Cyclone from if you're like a Feral or a Boomy playing with them. Just insane stuff, man. Insane stuff. So Symbiosis, another positive in there. That is about it for the new abilities. Yes. Yes. Anything else I want to highlight on here? Oh, yes. A big change that went into MoP compared to Cataclysm is they gave healers free hit, basically. So increase your chance to hit with Moonfire and Wrath by 15% and reduces pushback suffered from dodging spells when you're casting a lot of those spells. So getting free hit is amazing as someone playing in Cataclysm. Super frustrating to have to deal with hit chance. Like, you should not have to worry about getting hit chance. So I'm really glad that that's in the game. And yeah, some more of the baseline, talents that were in Cataclysm just baked into the class, like Primal Fury, Omen of Clarity. And yeah, okay. So that is it for the new spells. Now let's get into the talents. So your first row is in Mobility. This goes across the board for all specs. First row is in Mobility. You have Feline Swiftness, which is just passive 15%. Displacer Beast, I'm sure people remember this guy. And then Wild Charge. Wild Charge is exactly the same as Retail. You can use it to go Cat form and leap to something. You can do Bear form to root something. You can do what I was telling you. You can leap to allies or potentially your own mushroom or anything else, totems and stuff like that. Or you can get Displacer Beast. So Displacer Beast is a sick ability. And what that does, this is not the stealth version because we're dealing with the 5.4 patch, so this was later nerfed. It used to put you in stealth and you can pounce people off of it, which was so beyond broken. But it's almost like a blink and with a sprint and put you in cat form. So again, I'm just gonna add PvP references. If you are looking to, get a stun onto this target, you could pop Displacer, go in for a bash, and then run and then get behind a pillar and clone them because you got that movement speed with it. And in PvE, maybe you can use it to dodge AoE effects or just to displace yourself to somewhere else, Feline Swiftness is just kind of I feel like you're probably gonna get better use out of both of these anyway. Again, I'm not trying to make this like a guide, just trying to talk about these talents. Feline is kind of boring though. So next tier is more of a self-healing ability. So we have your Sarah's Gift, Renewal, or Send Ward. Unfortunately, Send Ward is just really, really good in this, so you probably won't get too much use out of these two. This next tier, we got some utility stuff. So we have Mass Entanglement, Typhoon, which is, I believe it's the Typhoon from Cataclysm, right? Oh, I don't know if it has the same range. Within 30 yards. Yeah, so this is the long range. This is not Retail Typhoon. This is the long range one. and it knocks them back and dazes them, but you can use it in all forms as well. And then you also get Fury Swarm. Is this the disarm version? No, it's just a slow. So it's a 50% movement speed reduction for 15 seconds. It replaces Fairy Fire. Very good slow, to be honest. So, you know, I don't know what kind of content you'd want to use that for, but it's there at your disposal. Okay, this next tier, 60 tier, is usually your big throughput ability, again, for all classes. Soul of the Forest being one of the sickest ones for Resto Druid, at least. And you gain 100% haste of your next spell when you cast Swiftmend. So if you cast Swiftmend here, I could either go for like a super fast cast Cyclone. I couldn't even stop it, it was so fast. You can go for a super fast cast Regrowth, or you can use it for Rejuve. So the thing is, haste was so much more valuable back in this expansion than it is in retail. Let's say, let me give you the reference here. Take this off. Let me actually put this on. So 19k Rejuve tick versus if I do it with Soul of the Forest, now it's a 23k tick. So the difference is pretty large if you use it for a Rejuve as well. So you can use it for anything that's affected by haste. So fast cast in PvP was iconic for those super fast cast clones. Just you know, it almost feels like a Heart of the Wild in retail, Heart of the Wild clone. It's a really cool ability that you can still go for Tree Form, which is similar to Cataclysm. The one thing that they did get rid of from this is actually the buffs to Wrath. So you can no longer use Incarn as an offensive ability for Incarn or Tree of Life. So kind of sucky. I like doing that in Tree Form, especially in Cataclysm. And then Force of Nature is pretty cool for the other specs, but not so cool for Resto Druid because it's just a heal that uses Swiftmend. Maybe in PvE you use it, I'm not too sure. I would imagine not. I imagine Soul of the Forest is still better, but pretty cool for some of the other specs that give you like instant cast Roots or Guardian. If you're Guardian, it's a taunt. So pretty cool stuff there. This next 75 row is more CC. So we get to choose between Disorienting Roar, Ursul's Vortex, or Bash. Let me just remind you, so Bash is a 5-second stun, just like retail. Disorienting Roar is a 30-second cooldown, 3-second roar, and you can roar into clone, was a pretty iconic thing. But Vortex, correct me if I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure this was way bigger back, yeah. So this is when Vortex Beam became a thing. If you guys remember MoP RBGs, when you'd have the DK can spec into Mass grip everything in, and then you could Vortex and then Root Beam. You could Vortex and then Beam over it. Solar Beam was much bigger in MoP, much bigger radius, and then if you also countered that with like a Shaman or another Druid that could Mass Root everything in that as well, it was just a combo of death, like a black hole. So Vortex is way bigger. I wish it was still like this in retail. You know, this Vortex is hitting all three of these guys at the same time. So it slows them on the way out and then sucks them in. Back in and usable in all forms. 1 minute cooldown, so much higher value Vortex from the retail version. And then last but not least, the 90 tier. Pretty cool stuff when it comes to... Sorry, dog's gonna bark. Hey, go! Heart of the Wild. Heart of the Wild, just like retail, 45% cooldown, gives you massive damage on all of the other forms if you are Resto. And also, to add, it also gives you hit chance and expertise cap automatically. So you don't have to worry about that when you're playing offensive. Really nice little niche thing in there. And if you are using balance spells, mana cost of all damage spells is reduced by 100% and gives you more spell damage and hit chance. Also, the one thing you do want to know, though, is that, look at the top there, increases stamina, agility, and intellect by 6% at all times. This alone makes it more valuable than some of these other spells just straight up. So that 6%, this is something I wish was in retail. Having a 5-6 minute cooldown, it just feels bad when it's not up. So I would have preferred a shorter cooldown, shorter duration spell, but it is what it is. But that 6% bonus intellect is massive to have just all the time. You do have the option to play Dream of Cenarius, which basically, again, like retail, increases your wrath damage by 20%, and it makes that wrath also heal for 100% of the damage you've done. So this is probably not something you're going to use in too many forms of content. I would think it's actually pretty solid in just doing dungeons, though, just in your downtime, kind of like how you do in Sod or Cataclysm, where you could just, you know, filler wraths in, and at least those wraths will heal while you're, you know, waiting to heal other stuff. So it's kind of like a little passive heal that you can be pushing out while your hots are ticking and you don't have anything else to do. And then finally we have Nature's Vigil. Nature's Vigil, unfortunately, is not as good for Resto Druids as it is for some of the other specs. It increases all your damage and healing by 12%, and all single target healing is converted into damage. well, nearby enemy for 25% of the damage healing done, and all single target healing is converted into damage. So vice versa. This was really iconic for for Boomies popping Incarnation, Nature's Vigil at the same time, and all their damage would do enormous amounts of burst and also heal at the same time. So really not as good for Resto Druid, unfortunately, but it is another option there if you're interested in that. Going over, this is turning into a long video. Hallelujah. Okay. I just love this so much. I'm sorry. So much passion here. So Glyphs did change going into Cataclysm as well. Glyphs became less important in terms of like throughput wise. So a lot of the Cataclysm ones you'll see is like Rejuve by 10%, you know, Word of Glory by 10%. And like they were just felt like auto lock-ins. There are a couple here and there, but they, for the most part, they're not like, most of the Glyphs are gameplay changing. Okay, so, you know, Glyph Efflorescence, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but just some ones to pick out that are really cool. Efflorescence, again, it links your Efflorescence to your Mushroom instead of your Swiftman, and it also buffs Master Shapeshifter. That's another one that was introduced, so it reduces the mana cost of all your shifting, which was lovely for me. You probably don't even need this to the most part, though. I'll do testing when, you know, when the game comes out and everything, but you don't have to worry about ooming yourself and shifting anymore. Retail, this is baseline. And Cyclone by 5 yards, another great addition. Another cool one here, Glyph of Cat Form. Honestly, I did not even look at this. Increases healing done to you by 20% while in cat form. Maybe a cool little interesting twos talent to play. We have Dash. Big one here, Fairy Face Silence. So if y'all didn't know, Resto Druids can have a blanket silence, which is crazy. 15-second cooldown, you go in bear form, use Fairy Fire, you do get a silence off of that. Very, very interesting stuff. Any other big highlights on here for restoration? When you cast Healing Touch or the cooldown of Nature's Swiftness is reduced. Kind of cool little, I guess, PvE baseline one. Innervate, you can innervate another target and you both get a benefit, but at 40% reduced effect. Anything else? Regrowth increases the crit chance but removes the periodic component of it, so you could just, so it's something you could be spamming more. Oh, go for Rejuvenation. When you have, this one is what I was talking about Nourish. When you have multiple, 3 or more Rejuves, you have a reduced cast time on Nourish. This is going to be really, really good in PvE to be able to just cast a very mana efficient heal and have some good throughput as well at the same time. And I think that is about it. Yeah. Oh, and Wild Growth. Oh, one thing, this actually reminds me, Skull Bash. Unfortunately, from going from Cataclysm, we lost Skull Bash, so we do no longer have Skull Bash as an option as a kick, but we do have Typhoon, so there's something to kind of add in there. And then when it comes to the minor glyphs, nothing crazy. These are kind of like these are the aesthetic ones, you know, chameleon, stars, sprouting. Well, your mild mushroom can be placed on the ground instead of on your turn. Oh my gosh, holy shit, my bad, y'all. Why didn't I say that? So now you can put the mushroom wherever you want it. I'm so stupid. So you can actually put it there and leap to it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about that. But at least I remembered by the end of the video. Anyway, there you go. I think that is it for when it comes to the talents glyphs. And the last thing I want to talk about is the viability. So let's go to the private. This is the biggest MoP private server out there. Let me pull this up. I'm gonna just very briefly go over the viability in PvE and PvP. So when it comes to let's see, I'll just click on one of the raids here. When it comes to healers, it seems like it's kind of, I mean, honestly, based on this, the healing throughput seems pretty nice, like all across the board. So healer-wise, it's looking like there's a pretty nice mixture, actually. But Resto Druid is definitely up there in terms of healers. I think it's probably a S tier in PvE if I were to guess. I'm not a PvE expert, but just based on this stuff and just based on some of the throughput I've been witnessing, that's where I say it would be. And then when it comes to PvP, I think it's a no-brainer. It is the best healer in the game. So in 2v2 bracket, kind of hard to tell based on this, but actually not a lot. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of PvP. I don't know how good of a resource this is. This is just the only thing I could find. But is there Qs and 2s? This is actually not good. I'll just tell you. Wait, is there stuff in the solo queue? Not really. I'll just tell you this. Hey, Drainer, that's a streamer. I'll tell you this, Resto Druid is the best healer. Just gonna say that. With all of this healing, the healing throughput, having the instant NS clone, having all the utility that it does, it is the best healer in PvP. So just putting it out there. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. That was way longer than I thought it was gonna be. But that is everything coming to Resto Druid in Mists of Pandaria. I hope you're as excited as I am. This is the best version of Resto Druid. As somebody who's played Resto Druid a long time, this is the best version. Better than all of the other versions that they've created. I promise you that. You will definitely have a good time. So that is all. Let me know what questions you got below, and again, what specs you want to see me cover next. So have a good one, y'all. Peace out.